We all know emotions are amazing and thoughts are amazing as well. However, when our thoughts run away on us and there's no contrary evidence, there's no positive reframing around our challenges, or there's no thought challenging, the world can feel really like a dark place.
People try using positive affirmations to do what positive reframing and thought challenging do. And that is why they do not work, because you're not using them for their intended purpose. You're trying to use them to change a core belief. Hey everybody, it's Bianca.
And this is Emilia.
Welcome to another episode of Evolve Ventures, where we are helping growth-minded humans evolve by breaking one limiting belief at a time. We hope you enjoyed the last episode, Motivation Monday, number 225. I always inverse that. How to use your resources to go better. For today, number 226, effective tools for dealing with challenges. Last week was really focused on coping skills for when you can't problem solve, for when you can't come up with solutions, for when the situations that you're experiencing don't really have a direct solution right up front. For today, what we're going to be doing is diving into a little bit of the opposite of that, which is what are ways you can actually handle or strategize or more effectively problem solve challenges that you are having. And these actually do tie into coping a little bit. So the reason I say that is because one of the ways to cope is changing the way that you're thinking. And that ties into problem solving. And so that's what we're going to be diving into today. How do you effectively deal with challenges? And what are the tools that, if you were to go to therapy, if it's a good therapist, what are the tools that they are going to teach you? So I have 3 listed out that we're going to be diving into today. And if you are on the Evolve Ventures Instagram page, if you follow us on Instagram, this will have been a few weeks ago, but I made a post on there about the difference between 2 of the 3 that we're going to be talking about today. So the 3 tools that we're going to be diving into are positive reframing, thought challenging, and positive affirmations. And I made a Instagram post about the difference between positive reframing and positive affirmations. So I'm going to start with positive reframing. Do you have anything you want to add before we dive in?
Yeah, before we dive in, I want to give an example of this so that we can kind of integrate it into our listeners with something that they might be struggling with. We just recently did an Out of the Mud on how to evolve your relationship with money. Now, I want to kind of give the case example of someone that's coming into coaching or therapy and they say, I'm struggling with my financial arena. I'm struggling with money. I'm struggling to pay for some of my things. I'm struggling at my job, and I'm realizing that I'm really not where I want to be financially. And they come to you, or they come to Evolve, and they say, you guys have given me hope. You guys have given me hope and empowerment and inspiration because you guys have done this too. What are some of the things that, using what we're going to be getting into in this episode, that would be really helpful, specifically using money as the case example in this and someone's relationship with money challenges that could be used effectively in this episode?
Okay, cool. Giving me a little bit of a challenge for this. I like it.
I am. So I'm gonna play. Let's do a little role play. So I come to you, Bianca, and I say, hey Bianca, I heard you guys on the Evolve Ventures podcast, and you know what? I realized one of my biggest challenges is money, and I really suck with money. Let's go into some positive reframing. Let's get into some thought challenging, and let's get into some positive affirmations around that.
Okay. Let me define So the way that my brain works, I want to do it one by one, and then I'll go back to the example. Does that work?
Let's do it. Yep.
Okay. Positive reframing is when you look at a situation and you try to take out or create a new meaning. Yeah, let me say it that way. We try to create a new, more empowering, maybe a more adaptive meaning to that situation. So you have this negative situation that you're experiencing, and you are trying to come up with a new way of looking at it. One of the biggest components of why people feel stuck in their life is because of the meanings that they're assigning to the event, the circumstances, and the situations in their life. So what this is really looking to do is help us create a more empowering meaning, because if we give something an empowering meaning, we're more likely to be able to deal with it better, to problem solve more effectively, and to get the solutions that we want. So if your primary belief, the meaning that you have about your finances is, I'm a terrible person when it comes to money. I suck at money. I suck at investing. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. My partner keeps getting mad at me. All of these negative thoughts, you're drawing a conclusion that you're not good enough, that this is an arena you're never going to get better in. This is a challenge you're always going to have. When you have that type of meaning, when you're assigning that label to something, there's no possibility for change. There's no possibility for growth in that. So if you were my client, what I would do is I would start processing with you a little bit. Tell me a little bit about where this belief comes from. What are the experiences that you've been through in the past where, you maybe acted this way with money, or you acted that way with money? And then I would try to help you see, this is the positive reframing component. Why did you make the choices that you made in that moment? What was going on in your life at that time? Well, I'll give a perfect example. I have a client, I will keep this anonymous. This person told me that they find themselves spending money a lot because honestly, it's the only thing that gives them a sense of control and a sense of safety and fulfillment. And I said, so you're spending money because you're trying to change how you feel? And they said, yeah. And I said, what's going on in your life? And they told me they had all of these negative experiences happen. They had all of these challenges come up. And I said, oh, okay. So you're spending money not because you're a terrible person, but because you're trying to gain a sense of control. And their face lit up. It was like, oh my God, someone sees me. Oh, they get it. Oh, I'm not just this terrible person like my partner is thinking. I'm trying to get a need met.
Oh, it's not that I suck with money. It's, maybe I'm challenged right here and I don't have a tool that's helping me deal with these challenges.
So we were able to look at the situation from a different lens, from a different viewpoint, and we put a more positive twist on it. It's not that you're this terrible person. You're trying to get a need met. Okay, cool. So what are maybe some other ways we can get that need met? What else could this mean about you? Well, this means that, I'm struggling and I want to do better in my life. Oh, okay. So what can we do about that? It provides so much more possibility, so much more hope. So you're creating a more adaptive or a more positive twist on it. I'll give you another example, just taking this out of the money context. If you're going through a breakup, I'm going through this right now. I'm doing this with myself. That's why I'm using this example. When we go through breakups, a lot of the time, the meaning that we assign to it is, I'm going to be alone forever. I did something wrong. I'm such a terrible person. Why does this always happen to me? Positive reframing in that lens would say, What else could this situation mean? What's really good about this situation? Why is it actually so much better for you that this ended? How are you now going to benefit from this? So you're taking this situation, and instead of using the meanings you were previously giving, now you're assigning this new meaning. Well, you know what? What's really good about this is da 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 da. What's really good about this is ABCD. What did I learn from this experience? Oh, I learned all of these things. How is this going to help me in the future? Oh, how this is going to help me is blah, 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 blah. So you're taking this situation and you're changing what it means about you, what it means about the future, what it means about who you are. And that is so much more productive and so much more adaptive than, oh, why does this always happen to me? And I'm such a terrible person and I'm going to be alone forever. And I say that as if that's not where my mind automatically takes me. So I'm saying this kind of lightheartedly because these are tools I still use in my day-to-day.
They're tools that everyone can use in their day-to-day. And so I just want to add a little bit of one that I know can be corny, but is a great example that I know our listeners will resonate, that I've seen and helped clients with a lot. So when you're dealing with a breakup, for example, ultimately it comes down to maybe rejection, right? I'm going to be alone forever is a thought process that goes around. The positive reframe around that is redirection. I know we've probably all seen that on a quote, on a meme, somewhere on the social medias where it's not rejection, it's redirection. And though, I'm like dramatizing it a little bit, I actually think that that's a really positive reframe, because that then helps to invert the thinking around what you just mentioned, which is how could we assign a different meaning? What did I learn about myself? And it helps you to kind of go into the other tools, which is thought challenging and those other things where, okay, what I learned about this was actually my attachment style. I've been running the same pattern of my avoidant attachment style. And that has led me to do this actually a lot better this time. And I now have some points that are trigger points that I didn't know before, because this was a new relationship that I'm now far more aware of and I'm grateful for, because I have, with my growth mindset, the ability to maybe look at those and work through some of those things later. Not because I'm a bad person, but because what I notice, my behaviors, they're really not serving me in this arena. And so I'm going to redirect myself, my thinking, and kind of open up some space for more positive thinking and thought challenging beyond that.
So let's dive into thought challenging next. So thought challenging is the single most used tool that I use with my clients. And I use this with myself, and Emilia and I really challenge each other with this too in our day-to-day settings. Emilia, all the time, I playfully call her out because she'll insult herself. And I'm like, don't talk to my friend that way. And I'm challenging the way that she talks to herself. And she does the same thing with me. Mm-hmm. So thought challenging is really looking at changing the way you are thinking about yourself, about others, and about the world. When you look at CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, the therapy that I'm specialized in, what I'd use with my clients, CBT really looks at how the way we think about the world and the way that we see the world impacts how we feel and then what we do. And so when you're having thinking patterns that are really unhelpful for you, for example, I'm horrible at money. I'm always going to be alone. The world is a dangerous place and nothing good is ever going to happen to me. Those types of thoughts put us in these really destructive emotion patterns and lead us to making really destructive behaviors and choices. So, thought challenging is, again, what I do with every client, every single session that I see them, is looking at the questions that they are asking themselves and looking at the statements that they are saying to themselves and really trying to see, is that true? What else could this mean? and what else might be going on. So I pulled up a list of Socratic questions. That's really what thought challenging is. The like fancy term for it is Socratic questioning. Comes from Socrates. So I'll list an example. Why do you say that? Can you explain further? What do you mean by that? Is this always the case? What else could this mean? Can you verify or disprove that assumption? What expectations are there to this? Then what would happen? What would happen if that happened? So you're really looking at, I'm making this statement. How true is it? Are there other ways of thinking about this?
Hi, everybody. I wanted to jump on here. My name is Julie, and I wanted to give a huge shout out to Evolve Ventures and to my coaching with Bianca. I'm like many of you. It's like I've read all the books, positivity, the glass is half full, it's not half empty. Tried to get myself away from negative people, tried to think positive thoughts, suffered from depression, on medications, tried everything, counseling. Tried so many different things, and it helped, but I never felt like I got to the root of the problem. And I started listening to Evolve Ventures, amazing. And then I did a free coaching with Bianca and thought, what could it hurt? It's free, right? Oh my gosh, that day changed my life. I blurted out to Bianca things that I had never even really thought about myself. And I ended up setting up coaching with her. And I know so many of us say, oh, we can't afford coaching. But let me tell you, that coffee that you drink, that cupcake that you have, those cookies that you buy, that restaurant you go to, all those little things to make you feel better, you can take all of that and put it aside and invest in yourself. Use that money to invest in you, because you don't need those cookies to feel happy anymore. You don't need those restaurants to feel happy anymore. When you know how to be happy yourself, how to make yourself happy. And it's not all great, every day is fine, but I can now acknowledge things. I can acknowledge why I feel the way I do, and I can work through it without having to feel like there is no help. People are great. I definitely recommend Evolve Ventures and Bianca.
So with the money situation with that client, they drew a conclusion that they're a terrible partner and a terrible person because they can't get their finances in check. And be gentle with yourself when you're doing this, because it's really easy to be like, oh, really? That's true? And like be really harsh to yourself. So when you're doing this, be gentle at first. And so what I did with this client is I said, is it really true that you're just a terrible partner? And they were like, well, it feels that way. And I said, what makes that true? And they tried listing examples. And I said, is that actually what that means? Or could there be something else going on? And they said, well, no, I'm really struggling. And I said, okay, well, if you were sitting with a friend and they told you that they were really struggling, would you tell them it's because they're just such a terrible person? And they're like, no, of course not. I would never say that to somebody. And I'm like, oh, interesting. But why is that true for you? That's thought challenging. I'm taking what they're saying and I'm really making them think, why am I thinking that? Where is that thinking coming from? Is that actually helping me? And more often than not, our thinking patterns do not help us. They are not aligning us to being the person that we want to be, to doing the things we want to do, to having the feelings and the experiences that we want to have. They're actually taking us off the path. So I remember like a year ago or like 6 months ago, Emilia and I would be in meetings and I would be like bawling my eyes out. I'm like, I'm going to be alone forever. Nobody's ever going to love me. Why does this always happen to me? And it's difficult doing this type of questioning to yourself. Like, even if you're the greatest therapist in the world, which I'm not, I intend on being someday, but even if you're the greatest therapist in the world, you still need external guidance. So Emilia was there really doing this work with me. B, is that really true? There's 7 billion people in this world, really? And like having me challenge my own thinking and challenge my own thoughts and challenge the way that thinking was making me feel. She wasn't trying. Here's a really significant caveat that I want to say though. You're not challenging the emotion. You're not bad for having the emotion you're having. You're challenging the thought that's producing that emotion.
Thank you for saying that. That's so important.
Because the thought is what's maladaptive. The thought is what's harmful, not your emotion.
Facts. There's one thing that I want to bring into this. I had a coaching call literally like a couple days ago where at the end of the call, I was so grateful. The client was like, Emilia, like, thank you so much. Like, you've helped me see the world in a different light. And I've gotten that so many times. Why is that? When someone's dealing with a challenge, they can say that after a conversation. It's because of exactly what Bianca had said, is because in that situation, the role I played was challenging her thoughts, her beliefs about the world. And to provide a little bit of a context, it was, why is the world such a dark place? Why are people so miserable? Why is the world just a terrible place to live and no one's ever happy and no one really cares about other people? Like really some heavy world views. Wow. And so the thought challenging that I had really kind of come to her with was, if the world is such a bad place, if people are really that miserable, if it is just all dark doom and gloom, why are you here? And it turns out the reason why she's talking to me is because of the complete opposite of what her belief was because her employers care about her so much, they actually want to see her see a different light. And they're even paying for the coaching and doing things like that to help her through some of the things that they don't really necessarily know what she's doing or what she's going through. But yet that provided thought challenging to show her contrary evidence to the initial perspective and worldview and beliefs and stuff like that came up as a result of those thoughts, those maladaptive thoughts. And it's amazing because when you can get around someone like a Bianca or like an Emilia or like someone that can help you challenge your thoughts, even if it's a friend, because you see the light, you see things in a different light. And that's something that I know we've all experienced. We have someone in mind where we can definitely turn to where they're actually really good unconsciously at challenging those thoughts that you have about yourself, about the world, about a situation, about whatever it is. And those people definitely are people that can help you in this arena consistently. So I just thought that was a really cool thing because of the fact that when you can have someone in your world and you and I are so blessed because we have each other, like we are constantly challenging each other's thought patterns. And that actually keeps our thought patterns in check, if you will, very humble and very level set because of the fact that we all know emotions are amazing and thoughts are amazing as well. However, when our thoughts run away on us and there's no contrary evidence, there's no positive reframing around our challenges, or there's no thought challenging, the world can feel really like a dark place. Our experiences can feel really, really tough. And those feelings can get really deep and complex. And those thoughts can get really, really entangled with some of our deepest core beliefs.
Oh, yeah. I got you, babe. Do you know that song? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's an old song. I don't know any of the words apart from that. Okay. So this last one, positive affirmations. Now, if you've been a fan of this show for a while, you will have heard that I have said time and time again, positive affirmations do not work. I want to, before we dive into this, I want to say why I've said that. People try using positive affirmations to do what positive reframing and thought challenging do. And that is why they do not work, because you're not using them for their intended purpose. You're trying to use them to change a core belief.
Say it again now, for the people in the back.
Positive affirmations will not change a core belief, but they will work to help you start to feel better about yourself and take the steps necessary to do thought challenging, to do positive reframing, to do a little bit more of the challenging work that it takes to really make change happen. So a positive affirmation is a self-statement that allows us to feel better. It allows us to feel better about ourselves or the situation that we are in. So a positive affirmation when it comes to money could be, I'm not great at this yet, but I'm the kind of person that can learn how to do anything I set my mind to. That is a positive affirmation. It is a self-statement about something that you see in yourself. So I have written on my whiteboard, in my bathroom, on the mirror, I am the kind of person that, given enough time, can learn anything. Because I believe it. It is a positive statement that I say to myself. I'm the kind of person that can get through anything. I love myself enough to keep going. I care about, I don't know, whatever, right?
Well, you're affirming what is positive, what you deem positive in the world, what you deem will be positive for your life. And that's so empowering when used in the appropriate setting.
That's the caveat, in the appropriate setting. You cannot positive affirmation your way out of a negative core belief. It will not work. Sitting in front of the mirror saying, I'm pretty, I'm pretty, I'm pretty, I'm pretty, I'm pretty. It's not going to change the fact that you don't believe you're beautiful. Maybe doing some positive reframing or thought challenging might, but chanting affirmations won't. The affirmations will help you when you're in a tough spot to do the challenging thing that you need to do to change that belief.
That's why I am such an advocate for that one first. And it's so important. It is such a vital piece of the equation, but it is not the only variable in the equation. So that's why if you listen to our show and you've heard me talk about mirror work, that is huge because it ignites the momentum. When we first, for example, I have a decal on my mirror in our bathroom that says, "You are amazing." And so it literally it's either you're amazing or I'm amazing. That's how amazing it is because I don't even know the difference. It's just been plugged into my consciousness around the fact that I'm amazing, right? So that's something that I read unconsciously, whether I want to or not, every single morning, or at least my subconscious does. And that's the ignition that takes hold of my consciousness to allow the space for positive reframing and thought challenging whenever I experience a challenge within my day. So I'm already downloading in my consciousness whatever positive affirmation we have just by the little thing written on my mirror, just by the little mantras we have on our desk, just by all the things that have been intentionally placed in our environment to leverage our unconscious mind. And that's why I'm such a big believer in that. And if you've heard in other episodes, whenever Bianca will say that, I'll be like, so wriggly and uncomfortable because I know for a lot of people, it's just getting started. That's such an issue and such a challenge. And I understand. So it's like the ignition that lights the flame. It's like striking the match. If you didn't do that, there would be no flame. And if you didn't have the flame on the match, then you couldn't start a bigger fire within you. It is just like that. And it's building the momentum that you need to create positive change in your life and even create the space for those thoughts to then evoke the behaviors.
Now I have Ignition by Usher stuck in my head.
Oh, I used to listen to that song on repeat.
Yeah.
Back in the teens.
Oh, yeah. Back in the day. All right, y'all. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope that it provided substantial value. If you're interested in learning more about how to do this, Emilia and I are still taking new clients. So if you want to do more therapy work, reach out to me. If you're interested in more holistic coaching, reach out to Emilia. We have so many plans, so many different ways to be a part of this community and so many different plans for the work that we do together. So we have come up with ways to accommodate everybody. So if that's something that you're interested in or that you want to learn more about, please reach out. And before we wrap up, what is your episode suggestion?
My episode suggestion is number 214, how to gain certainty when life feels out of control. We actually go into some more tools in there. So let's say, for example, people are walking away from this episode and saying, okay, maybe I need some more context, or maybe I want some of those tools linked to an example. That's a great episode to kind of ring through what I find a lot of our listeners need, which is that feeling of control. So listen to that if you want to continue this journey. B, what is your final episode and takeaway? Takeaway and episode.
What? Yeah. 130, three tips to understand and handle your emotions. Final takeaway. The way that we think about ourselves in the world genuinely is what causes so much suffering, unnecessary suffering. When you can learn to really look at the way that you view yourself and you view the world and you view other people, you'll be able to start making the changes to those thoughts and to those beliefs, which will then help you change how you feel and change what you do. And if we all did that, imagine how much better of a place this world would be. All right, everybody. We will see you next time.
Bye everyone.